Hello, everybody. This is Joe Joseph, and this is your daily Sheeple.com daily news brief. And I want to start off tonight by highlighting something that has been, for me, evident for quite some time, but maybe for not a lot of people. And so, especially to those that continue to have their head in the sand about a lot of the issues we face here, not just in the United States, but especially the world in general, this might actually hit home. And this specifically goes out to those that may be a civil servant, that work for, say, the police department, maybe teachers. This specifically goes out to you because there have been some glaring examples of just how much they care about you, your government, the powers that shouldn't be. This is a very, very, very hard-hitting episode for people like you. So let's get into it. TheDailyMail.com came out today with a great piece saying, now Huma is just one of my staffers, so said Clinton, after close aides get left behind on Ohio campaign trip while Hillary keeps up her war on the FBI after its stunning decision on her emails. Now, this is all stuff that should have happened long ago, right? But as I said yesterday on the Daily News Brief, we don't have the rule of law in the United States. There's no rule of law in the UK. There's no rule of law in Europe, in Africa, in Asia. Most of the world does not have the rule of law. You have a perceived rule of law, which basically is anarchy, but the way the powers that shouldn't be want it, not the way that it should be. See, everybody's so afraid of anarchy. Oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do without the rule of law? Well, what are we doing without it now? See, in order for there to be the rule of law, the law has to apply to everybody from the very tippity top down to the bottom, down to us bottom dwellers. And it clearly doesn't. And this email scandal is just one very specific example of how the rule of law doesn't exist in the United States, ergo the Western world, even the Eastern world. It's all about who you know and how high up in the food chain you are. And in this case, we have a great example of one Huma Abedin, who has been Hillary's, quote, right-hand woman ever since she was the first lady. She's always been there, always by her side, right? The good soldier, always there, the loyal person to help Hillary out, to be there no matter what happens. I'm your woman, Hillary. That's what she said. And all of that loyalty, all of that dedication to duty, all of that meant nothing when Hillary was faced with something that she could either say, look, I'm going to stand by you, Huma, no matter what. You know, we're tight like that. You know, it doesn't work that way for these kind of people. They will drop you like a bad habit. And Huma got left behind. Hillary said, she's just one of my staffers. Now, everybody and their mother knows that that's not true. Everybody knows just how important Huma was to Hillary over the years, right? This is the Daily Mail talking. It says, Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton blasted the FBI again Monday, and this time brought up the Bureau's probe into the emails maintained by longtime aide Huma Abedin, dismissing the idea she did anything wrong while minimizing the close role of her staffer. Quote, now they apparently want to look at emails at one of my staffers, and by all means they should look at them, Clinton said, bringing up the FBI attack at the start of the rally before a room packed with students at Kent State University. Quote, and I'm sure they'll reach the same conclusion that they did when they looked at my emails last year. There's no case here, which is not the truth, by the way. People at the FBI are up in arms because of the fact that she was not indicted. And she says, and they said it wasn't even a close call. Psh, all right, look, just because she says something, this is the power of the media. And I'll get into that too, because the media is in cahoots. And those in the media, be careful, because you think you're doing the role and you're playing the role of the person that you're supposed to be. You know, you're doing your job, being the good soldier, and the media will dump you like a bad habit as well. We'll get into that in a minute. Now, it says Abedin has been known for years to be Clinton's gatekeeper. You know, Clinton even considers her a surrogate daughter and longtime confidant until she gets in trouble. And then it's, see you later, alligator. And so now she's been taken off the campaign trail. There was a picture of her this morning dropping off her son at school because she can't be seen with Clinton now. Now she has to stay in hiding. Now she has to stay away from everything. And look, if she ends up being indicted, do you think Hillary's going to stand by her? Oh, no, 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 no. There will be nothing like that, because there's no loyalty in evil. There's no loyalty in darkness. None of that applies. When you're talking about a woman or a person that is as dark as she is, it's all about self-centeredness. It's all about materialism. It's all about the world. That is what it's all about. And loyalty, goodness, light, standing by each other through thick and thin, you know, through the good times and the bad. No, that's not how it works. This is only going to get worse as it goes on. And Huma is in for a rude awakening as far as just how far that loyalty is going to go. In other news, this was just reported by Yahoo just a couple of minutes ago that CNN has cut ties with Donna Brazile over the hacked emails that show she gave the Clinton campaign debate questions, right? Now, we all know that CNN is in cahoots with the Clinton. They call it the Clinton News Network. I mean, it's been known that since Clinton was the president. Some people call it the Communist News Network. It doesn't matter what you call it, but people aren't stupid. And they know that certain media agencies or certain media companies are slanted one way or the other, which totally goes against what they teach you in journalism school, and we'll get into that in a minute. It says CNN has quietly cut ties with Donna Brazile, the acting Democratic National Committee chair and a longtime contributor on the cable news network, after hacked emails published by WikiLeaks revealed that she had provided questions to the Hillary Clinton campaign in advance of a town hall and debate hosted by CNN during the Democratic primary. The email showed that Brazile, whose role as a CNN contributor, of course, was suspended in July. They were trying to keep it on the down low, you know, until all this went by, because you know what they're going to say now. Brazile's going to come out and say, oh, you know, it's because it's a racist. It's all this. They're going to let it fly. Not because you did the unethical thing. Not because you did the immoral thing. Right? Don't take responsibility for your actions. And don't think that you're going to get justice here from CNN, because that's certainly not going to happen. Now, the network vehemently denies giving Brazile access to debate questions in advance. I would have to say, how did she get them? If the network didn't give it to her, and they were mailed in to the network, right, from emails, from people that listen or watch or whatever, well, then how did she get them? Even if somebody within the network did it without the network knowing, the old saying goes that the captain of the ship is responsible for the actions of the crew under his or her command, right? So if a CNN employee gave Donna Brazile, a contributor, questions that were going to be asked to Hillary Clinton, and she in turn gave them to Hillary, it doesn't matter. that the network didn't know. If a paid employee did it, the network did it. It's that simple. They can deny it all day, but how did she get the questions? And Donna, I got to tell you, I'm sure they came to you and said, hey, look, you got inside ties to her, your DNC chairwoman. Here's some questions. Go ahead. Go give it to her. We'll keep it hush-hush on the down low, right? And you ended up getting caught. Do you think CNN is going to get your back? The answer is a resounding no. Look it, a crony is a crony. That's what you are. You're a crony to the powers that shouldn't be. And they will drop you, like I said, like a bad habit when anything goes wrong. There's no loyalty there. Just like you police officers out there that think, well, I was just doing my job. And something bad goes down. And you may lose your job. Or you may do some people wrong. Or you may be put in positions that force you to do something that goes against what you know is wrong in your heart. But you choose to do it anyway. Let me tell you something. Your loyalty to them is not mirrored back at you. You might think it is, but it's not. And I'll tell you this too, especially you people in uniform and civil servants out there. When you stand before the judgment seat, I was just doing my job is not gonna fly. It's not gonna cut it to the Almighty. When you knowingly and willingly do things to injure people, to vilify the innocent, to rob people of their free will and their rights, you are as guilty can be. And I was just doing my job is never, ever going to cut it. And the media is probably the biggest tool, or one of the biggest tools, that the powers that shouldn't be have in making sure their plan can go forward, whether it be rigging an election, whether it be mass mind control, whether it be pushing propaganda to advance agendas, all that kind of stuff. Media's very big. But, as John Rappaport says, the globalization of media is a failing strike force. He says globalized media is a nice plan. So he examines it real quick. He says the new technocratic media is based on profiling users. There's no impactful news unless each member of the audience is surveilled and analyzed on the basis of what he already likes and wants. Shocking. It's to be expected. How else would technocrats parlay the untold hours they spent sizing up their consumers and users? He says, several years ago, I wrote, Tech Blather has already begun. Since Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon, bought the Washington Post at a fire sale, Jeff Genius will invent new ways to transmit the news to people on the go and make the Post a smashing success. Mobile devices, multiple platforms, digital takeover from print, ads customized to fit readers in their interest, news stories customized to fit readers' interest as well. Just more profiling. In other words, non-news. You're not getting informed. You're being distracted with a bunch of garbage geared to your interests that they go and glean from your surfing habits. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with being the news. The media is supposed to be the checks and balances that are put in place to hold our government and to hold big corporations and all these entities that are really too big for your average everyday guy to go and hold accountable. That's what they're supposed to do. And they've clearly failed. And not on purpose. It's failed for a reason. As some people would say, they're being successful in what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah, and if you look at, since J.P. Morgan started this by purchasing, 20 of the top newspapers that in turn fed all the small newspapers their stories, then I guess you could say it's working out just fine. Or Operation Mockingbird. You look at that being put in place by the clandestine service of the United States. Yeah, I guess it's working swimmingly. My good friend Tim Watts, newsfocus.org is his website. Again, I strongly urge you go there and check it out. One of his articles gets into this because he's got well over 25 years of experience in media, and he explains it in a very, very simple way. He says in broadcast school and journalism, we're taught two basic fundamentals. He says, number one, seek out and follow the truth because it is the story. And number two, don't become involved in entangling alliances that prevent you from adhering to rule number one. Pretty simple, don't you think? Yet, how many news personalities and writers willfully break that code by entangling themselves in organizations like the Council on Foreign Relations, which is a huge organization that would certainly insert a bias, especially when it's a organization that helps push and advance foreign policy for the United States of America and the UK, because they have a UK branch as well. And you look at some of these media personalities that were there, and this is a little bit of a dated list, but let me just give you a few names. Brian Williams, Katie Couric, Diane Sawyer, Mika Brzezinski, Dan Rather, Tom Brokaw, Bob Schiffer, Barbara Walters, Judy Woodruff, Paula Zahn, Leslie Stahl, George Stephanopoulos, Jim Lehrer, David Gergen, Fareed Zakaria, Terry Moran, Charlie Rose, Aaron Burnett, Rupert Murdoch, Garrick Utley, Mort Kondracki, Monica Crowley. I mean, that's just a few. You've got print media there as well. And that's the thing. The CFR fraternity is a fraternity of influence. That's what they do. And to advance their foreign policy agendas, they invite these media personalities in so that they're part of the club, and they in turn will get that story, that information out that advances the agenda. The CFR is at the very least a foreign policy think tank. At the worst, it's a catalyst for foreign intervention by the U.S. for the New World Order. I mean, that's what it is. Yet we have a ton of journalists in there entering into entangling alliances. And this is just one example of a huge problem. And then, of course, you've got the shrinking down or the merging of all these media companies into the hands of a handful of people that control the entire mainstream media. This is why it's so important, folks, to support alternative and independent media. Because we don't have special interests at heart. Our interests are you. Our interests are putting those checks and balances in place because we identify and we have been, for lack of a better term, raped by the mainstream media, by the control freaks, by the powers that shouldn't be. We know how it feels to be taken advantage of by oligarchs. And we don't want that to happen anymore. So we are going forward and providing the checks and balances that the mainstream media does not provide. And this is why it's so important to support sites like the Daily Sheeple and SHTFplan.com. Because when you do, you're advancing truth. You're advancing exposing the lies and getting this out there. Look, if it wasn't for alt media, if it wasn't for WikiLeaks, I can tell you that people would not know about the size and scope of the voter corruption. They wouldn't know about the size and scope of the globalization and what it truly means. None of that. It was all exposed because people who have true intentions for good in their hearts have sacrificed, and it's a sacrifice to do this, sacrificed time away from their family, sacrificed the ability to probably be a lot more successful out in the real world in order to do this so that, in my case, my children might have a better world to live in, because prior generations have been so irresponsible and have let things deteriorate so rapidly that it's going to take a lot of work to dig ourselves out. So support your alt media outlets, whoever they are, whichever your favorite ones are. Support them and help us bring about a new media in the United States and the world so that we can hold the powers that shouldn't be to account and maybe, just maybe, get some justice here in the world. I'm Joe Joseph. This was your dailysheeple.com daily news brief. Subscribe to this YouTube channel today. And again, support alt media. Have a great day, everybody.